shaking, and you feel your heart is breaking. Take my hand, no hesitating. When you're just so tired of trying, all alone you feel like hiding. Together we'll keep fighting. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Don't stop now. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna mountains too high we can climb it. Feel this, we're taking the moment. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Can you see the sun is shining like a new hope? Feel it rising, coming over the horizon. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Don't stop now. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna mountains too high we can climb it. Feel this, we're taking the moment. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. There's no stopping.
Good evening. It's Saturday, 7 p.m. And it's November 13th, and we're approaching the holidays. I think by next week I'll have, these are just white lights in here, but I'll have some Christmas lights up just to get into, I know it's going to be the week of Thanksgiving. A lot of people want their Christmas up by Thanksgiving. You might argue you want to wait till things over. Whatever makes you happy. That's most important. If you want to enjoy the Christmas season a little bit longer, and if that works for you and that gives you peace and satisfaction, then you just do it. And I enjoy the holidays. I get into it, and the music and everything else. So we have a lot to discuss today. I wrote down a lot of notes that I want to go over, and we're going to talk about home prices and where they're going. And there's so many articles about that, about where they're going to go next year. And we're going to break it down a little bit and see what we could figure out. I'll give you my predictions. And we could take it from there. So let's do our little intro to see exactly what are we going to talk about today. Okay, so we're going to talk about home prices. I just want to uh, give a little background on things that I learned this week. Um, and, we have this big situation right now with the supply chain, and it's getting goods from um, countries outside of the United States. Well, they would be, outside the United States, and getting them into the ports. And because of the pandemic, we have a shortage of workers, and from all different types of industries, from the truckers, from people working in warehouses, for people working in manufacturing plants, and so forth. So we have a, a shortage of workers all around, all when you look at all facets of the economy. uh, we have shortages of the labor force, and so this affects a lot of different things. um, I'm just pausing because I learned so much this week. Like, um, I was watching, if you get into Bill Moya, and he had Kevin O'Leary on, who's on Shark Tank, and he's talked about uh, not only in this country where we have shortages, we're getting our feet back on the ground with the pandemic, though I heard some negative news yesterday, but um, hopefully in general, the numbers are going down. Um, but as he was saying, Kevin O'Leary from uh, Shark Tank, and he was on Bill Moya, that but a lot of the countries where they did not get it under control are hurting even more. I mean, there's more factories that are closed down, more manufacturing plants, and this is all overseas. So when I have been constantly saying that we must get this COVID-19 under control, but it's not only we; it's the global economy that has to get it under control, because wherever we're bringing goods in, you know, if we're having goods being manufactured overseas, and it doesn't even have to be just manufactured goods. It could be products that we just buy overseas. With all the delays that we have um, in all these different facets of the economy, it's causing the delay of these goods coming in and getting it to people. Uh, we had a year, and probably a little more of a year, and when I say we, I'm talking about Americans, where we did not go, on vacation, whether or not it was throughout the United States or abroad. Okay, we've eaten out less. We haven't gone to concerts. We haven't gone to movies. So a lot of people have more cash on their hands right now, and they said, "Well, how about this cash? I could start going out now, but I really want to buy some nice things. The holidays are coming up, and I have this cash in hand, and I want to buy some things." And with this strong demand and these problems we have with getting the goods in, um, it's causing inflation as well. Okay, remember, strong demand, short supply in the sense of the items hitting the store market shelves, right? Or if it's going to a company where you're buying it online, but it still has to get to that company, to that warehouse. So you, in a sense, you still have a shortage. All right, even though a lot of these products have been made already and they're out in the waters of San Diego and San Francisco. All right, uh, we have this shortage now uh, within the stores itself, and whether it's a brick and mortar store, or if it is an online store, we have these shortages. And what happens when we have shortage and the strong demand? Well, prices go up. And this is the same exact thing with the real estate market. All right. We have a strong demand for homes and a short supply. A short supply because a lot of people who are owners who were thinking about selling and they put it on the back burner for several reasons. It could be that, well, they were still living in their house and they didn't want a whole bunch of people walking through who may spread the disease, right? So they kept it off the market. Or they saying, well, things are so bad right now. Where I go, I mean, you know, I think Virginia handled the COVID-19 situation quite well. All right. But they, let's say they were considering going to a state where the numbers are high. They might have said, I'm going to hold back. I'm going to hold back right now with my move. So for whatever reason, okay, there were less homes on the market. And because of that and the strong demand, prices have gone up. All right. One thing I want to just put into the mix, and I wrote it down here, something that that I, when I say became aware of, I mean, it makes so much sense. But for instance, with the infrastructure bill that's been passed, a lot of bridges, right, have to be reinforced. And sometimes it's not just, your bridges that are going over a big river, going over a bay like we have here, the Chesapeake Bay, lakes or whatever. Um, Even on the regular highway, there's a point where it goes, there's an overpass and it might go over another roadway below. Okay. So a lot of times, trucks cannot go on these highways or certain bridges because of the weight of the truck, of the 18-wheeler. So many times, these truckers have to take longer routes. So if they went by car, they would be there in 6 hours, but because they have a truck, it takes them 9 hours. But by beginning to implement this infrastructure bill where bridges could be reinforced, overpasses could be reinforced, roads could be fixed, that's also going to help with the movement of the supply chain. Okay. So I found that very interesting. It makes sense. And this will be helpful. In other words, what I'm trying to say, everybody should be for the infrastructure bill, okay? Because it helps everybody. It's not political, right? It's not Republican, it's not Democrat, it's not Libertarian, okay? It's something that America needs. The Japanese had the bullet train since like the 1960s. It goes like over 90 miles an hour, might even go higher than that. We don't have that in this country. So in a sense, and there's a lot of European countries that have these very quick trains, right? We don't have it. We're still like 40, 50 years behind the transportation arenas of the world. Okay, we're really behind. Even with broadband internet, our middle daughter was married 2 years ago. Actually, their anniversary is coming up, and we were in the western part of Virginia. Beautiful, beautiful area. Okay, a lot of farmland, very country. Had the most horrific cell phone service, had the most horrific Wi-Fi service, like trying to get onto the internet. So we need this across the nation, from the cities to the countryside. This is all important stuff. All right, so I just want to add that in with infrastructure and also about how important the Wi-Fi is, and where it's a lot of places where it's not. Doesn't have to be just a an area of low economics. Okay, it could be a beautiful sprawling farmland area, and there's no internet service. Okay, so we got, as a country, we got to work on this. The infrastructure bill is going to help everybody from the cities, from the countryside, from the Midwest, from the Great Plains. It's going to help everybody. Okay, that's enough of that. Don't send any hate mail. Uh, so let's talk about today's topic. And let me get that up here. I have to, okay, here we go. And here I am to the side. And what's happening with home prices? And let me just move away my caption right now. So, and we'll just move this down a little bit more. So it's saying there, how much have home values appreciated over the last 12 months? According to, and let me get my little highlighter pen here. This is my highlighter here. According to the Home Price Index from CoreLogic, home values have increased by 18.1% compared to this time last year. Additionally, prices have gone up at an accelerated pace for each of the last 8 months. Now, I know this is true as well for the peninsula side, and I'm going to assume, where we are, we have the peninsula and we have the south side. So peninsula is Hampton, Newport News, York County, Poquoson. And when I do CMAs or comparative market analysis for my sellers, I have seen definitely an increase of 18%, as we see here in July. All right, so from January, and this is cumulative here, right? It's not adding another 10.4, but it's moving up right here. And so by July and August, we're up about 18.1% from the following year. Okay, and that's pretty high for a year. Okay, the last year has shown tremendous home price appreciation, which is resulting in a major gain in wealth for homeowners through rising equity. And we actually talked about that last week, about equity. So that's really wealth. When the value of your house is going up, and if your home price, I mean, I should say your unpaid balance, no matter what, your unpaid balance is not going to change, right? As I showed last week, but as the home price goes up, and that gives you, because it's based upon what you could sell your house now for, right? So if you bought it at $180,000 and now it's worth $210,000, and let's say your unpaid balance is $150,000, well, now you have $60,000 worth of equity in your house, and that's really wealth, okay? Because if you sell the house, that's $60,000. That's gross, all right? You would have $60,000 gross in profit. That's before paying commissions and taxes, okay? So this is very important. So a lot of people, actually, when they end up selling, and we're trying to push the market, especially sellers, like saying, well, you if you wanted to sell your house, you waited till the COVID got a little bit better, you could sell now, and if you go into another house, you have a nice big down payment, if you want to lower your mortgage payment, or you just keep that $60,000 gross. Okay. So what are happening to home prices right now? All three indices mentioned above also show that while appreciation is in the double digits right now, the price acceleration is beginning to level off. And over here, you're seeing it. Um, and here are different reporting agencies. So here, Case and Shield is seeing it leveling off. FHFA is seeing it come down a little bit. Here with CoreLogic, they actually show it increasing not as high as the others, and it's still went up a little bit, but it's not accelerating as it had been, in these months. You see the gigantic increase or incline in the lines over here. Okay, but no matter what, you either see it leveling off, going down a bit, or just moving up a little bit over here. So keep in mind, that doesn't mean home values will depreciate. It means that the rate of appreciation will slow, yet stay well above the 25-year average of 5.1%. So we really don't expect home prices to go down. Some people are expecting that. They think that's going to happen. And again, I'm going to just put this up here, and I want to come back. So again, and I say this in almost every podcast, as long as the economy stays strong, the home prices will still go up. It won't go up as crazy as last year. They're expecting here, you're seeing an average. You're seeing some as high as 7.4%. That's Fannie Mae. You have Freddie Mac. You have the Mortgage Business Association, and these other ones. I got to look. Zelman and Hype. They're actually down below the explanation of these other reporting agencies. But basically, they give you market evaluations of the real estate industry. Okay, so this is the National Association of Realtors. They have it at the lowest. I'm surprised they have it that low. But actually, to be honest with you, I wouldn't mind if it's this low, because I have a lot of buy. I'll be very happy. Here, 7.4% higher. I could make a nice commission on that. But I'm gonna have less buyers. All right. I'd rather just go up to 2.8 or 3% next year. So to keep the buyers that I have on the back burner right now, they themselves put themselves on the back burner because they just got fed up with the market, with all the competition. But I want to tell you right now that the competition, it's not as crazy as it was in the earlier months of the year. Now you might just have one or two competing offers instead of 5 or 6. All right. And by the way, a lot of these competing offers, they dropped out. And I'm assuming they dropped out because they realized that paying $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 above the asking price maybe was a little too insane. Either they made that decision on their own, or they realized they didn't have that amount of money to pay the difference between the appraised value and the contracted price. Or, because like if you were in the bidding war and you brought it up higher and higher and higher, and then you had a ratified contract on a price that was about $50,000 above the asking price, it's very possible that they found out they didn't have the money, or if they were going to use gifted money from a parent or a family member, and they said, "Oh, forget it. That's insane." And a lot of them dropped out. Okay, more than you would expect. And that's because the market was crazy. It's getting a little bit better now. Okay. But and I just want to make a differentiation between, what people pay a lot high. That's not the true market value of the house at that point, right? Right. If someone paid 50,000 above the asking price, um, at that point, uh, when the appraiser went out there and they said, it's not worth that high, but they paid the difference. Now, what's going to happen for the next sales? Okay, that house will become a comp, and they will base the pricing of future homes based upon that comp. But the more I talk about it, it's I really think it's going to mess up the market. When it gets to when you have something where it's purchased way above the value of it, right? Um, it never works out well. But nonetheless, we don't see the prices going up. And again, here's the range from 2.8% up to 7.4. I like to do this medium price here. We talked about what medium is, like right here, between 5.2 to 5.1%. And to my buyers out there, okay, we really expect mortgages to go up next year. And in fact, they're actually up now above 3%. For the longest time, they've been below 3%. And if you had really great credit, you got a really good deal. They're going to inch up. And again, always remember, as the mortgage interest goes up, the monthly payment will be higher, all right? And then to top that off, you have increasing home prices. So for those of my buyers and potential buyers, if you kept on holding it off, it's not a good idea, because it's the your monthly payment on your mortgage with the higher price and with a higher interest rate is going to be higher. All right. So if you could buy now, it's a very good thing. You'll save hundreds per month. Okay. And just to kind of, let me see. I just brought in two charts here. I was looking on I was Googling charts for demand and supply, and they were too complicated. So I just got this from my regular source. Wondering why home prices are going up? It's simple. High demand plus low supply is price appreciation. And there's a lot of charts out there that I could show you, but it gets confusing, and I didn't want to. So here's another way that the way it's determined if it is a seller's market or not. Due to low supply and high demand, today is one of the strongest seller's markets we've seen. So we go by how long the house stays on the market. So if it stays on 7 months, it's a buyer's market. 6 to 7 months, it's neutral. Less than 6 months of inventory, it's a seller's market. And now homes are going average on the 2.6 months, and that's today's market. So that's really a low duration of the house on the market. So it's definitely seller's market. And real estate market will stay strong if we keep a rein on COVID-19. I already talked about that. Unfortunately, I heard yesterday in a lot of the Midwest states, the numbers are going up. And the reason why, it seems that when we are outside, okay, when we are outside spending our leisure time, we go into the beach, we go to the pool, we go to picnics. Um, the chances of getting COVID are lower, I guess, because you're out in the air, the wind is blowing, and it's nice and fresh. But once the colder months come and we go inside and we watch our ball games, and Buffalo Wild Wings, and we go to a lot of movies. Um, we're in an enclosed location, and now if someone is sick and has COVID-19, it affects a lot of people. So some of the states they're going up again, and I'm praying that if they're not vaccinated, that they will get vaccinated, um, and get this worked out before it spreads even more. Um, and that's the key fact, that we have to get away from this terrible disease. All right, so I'm going to just kind of like do a review of what we talked about in his video on home prices going up. All right. And if you want to find out your home value, you could go to my website. Here's the link right below. But if you go on my website, and you'll see in the top the menu, sellers, and you just click on it, you would get to here. All right. And you could just type in your address and get an estimate. And then I will receive a notice that you will, and I will fine tune that estimate for you. I'll do a complete CMA for you with comps that you could look at. And actually, because of EXP and us working with KV Core, they have a wonderful interactive, that's the word I'm thinking about, CMA that I could send out, where you see these little flags and you see prices, and you could click on it, and you could look at the house, and then look in the interior, because that's a big factor in pricing your home and seeing if your home has been upgraded, if it's in comparison with the other homes. So that's very, very helpful. So again, you go to my website, realestatewithmrg.com, and you could just click on sell in the top menu. Let me see if I have to go to here. So if I circle here, you see sell over here, and then you could enter your address and you get a quick estimate, but I will follow up and I will fine tune that for you. Okay? All right. All right. So let me look at my notes. I think that's all we're going to discuss today. We're at a little bit over 30 minutes right now. So like to keep these around 30 minutes. A lot of people are probably saying it's already much too long. But I hear from my producer, William Burgess, that we may have a famous person in the audience, and it'll be great because somebody who wrote some holiday music for the upcoming, which we hear all the time in the holiday season.
Chris, I have great news. We have a special guest in the audience. Born in Imperial Russia, this celebrity arrived in the United States at the age of 5 and later on became an American composer and lyricist, widely considered one of the greatest songwriters in American history. His music forms a great part of the Great American Songbook. His hits include Alexander's Ragtime Band, Easter Parade, Cheek to Cheek, and of course, White Christmas. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Irving Berlin.
Wow, that was a treat to have Irving Berlin in the audience. Well, okay. So we'll see you next week. If you haven't been vaccinated, please do. And if you're not at this point, please wear a mask. Keep social distance. Wash your hands. Most of all, be kind to each other. Okay? Remember, the greatest power we have is to love. And the greatest gift, each other. And I'll see you next week.